People think in order to be able to make money in real estate, you have to be a flipper or buy a really beat up house and spend a lot of money on renovations, but that's just not the truth. So today we're gonna show you guys why our favorite investments for ourselves and our clients are these older homes with big backyards, lots of landscaping, and how normal people are buying these properties and doing some renovations or no renovations at all and making massive amounts of money. So I have my laptop here and we're gonna go through 3 properties that are awesome examples of these, and I'm gonna explain exactly why this worked out for the sellers and how much money each person made from just buying a house and living in it for a few years. The first property that we have is 6154 Sweet Briar. Now this property was sold in January of 2015 for about $250,000, and 5 years later it was resold for $80,000 more. After the cost of selling, the seller of this home made roughly $60,000, and because they lived in the house while they did these little renovations that we're going to go over, they didn't pay a dime of tax to the government. So let's see exactly what they did correctly. This homeowner, this buyer who resold, they purchased a home on a beautiful street. I mean, there's just a lot of emotion. The greenery of this house in the front and the back, it really sells this home. This house has that 80s style front that's really popular, and the reddish orange trim, it just gives really great curbside appeal, and it's nice contrast to the green landscaping and the blue skies in the background. It just looks great in photos. The owner of this house, they invested very little, and I mean, most likely the projects they did were DIY over the course of 5 years. So they learned a new skill, and I can guarantee you that through this time, they enjoyed waking up every morning and enjoying a cup of coffee in their back patio in this beautiful backyard. Now, when we look at the property from when it sold in 2015 to 5 years later in 2020, the photos just look way, way better. And you might be asking, like, Austin, if they didn't spend a lot of money, why does it look so much better? And that's because this real estate agent hired a professional photographer in 2020 to resell the property. There's nothing that hurts home sale prices like really bad photos or a dirty home. And this home wasn't dirty in 2015 when it sold, but the photos were just dark and it made it look really small, and it's hard to look past that. All in all, $60,000 for living in a beautiful home for 5 years. They got other tax benefits along with this. I think this homeowner did an awesome job, and they had a beautiful home to live in for these 5 years. Let's see this next one. So this next one is 1921 Stonehaven. Now this property sold for $263,000 in 2016, and only 4 years later, they resold it for $99,000 higher. Now, after the selling costs, the seller of this house made roughly about $77,000 to $78,000 profit. And again, because they lived in this house while they did some of these little renovations, they didn't pay a dollar of tax on that money. Again, very beautiful thing. Now, when we look at the front, I mean, they didn't even paint the front. They left this very interesting yellow paint. But once again, we see these professional photos making this house look like a hot meal instead of a soggy sandwich like the photos in 2016. And as we go through the other photos, I mean, the flooring, the kitchen, the bathrooms, they all look the exact same. It does look like they painted a room or two with gray, but that is about it. Listen, please do not hire a real estate agent who's going to take cell phone photos of your house when you're going to sell it. It's going to hurt the amount that you actually sell it for, because it's 2020. Everybody's shopping online. Every home should be decluttered. It should be deep cleaned, staged, and have a professional photographer if you want to maximize the amount of money that you can sell it for. Now, this home actually looks like it was in really good condition and it was taken care of, but there's so much boxes and clutter, it's hard to see past that. It just doesn't look appetizing in 2016. I think the buyer probably even got a pretty good deal on it because of the photos. Again, this person who bought this in 2016, they purchased in a 70s community that has emotion and character. The zip code they bought in is 89108, which has been one of the top performing zip codes for the last few years, meaning that the home values have been going up significantly. We've loved investing in this area. It's really, really turning around fast, and our clients are benefiting from this home value increase. They potentially got a great deal because of the bad photography and no staging. They did minimal work. They had an awesome home to live in, and I'll bet you they used this property and the next one they purchased as stepping stones to wealth and their dream home. The third property we have is 1776 Sycamore Trail. Now this house was bought for $325,000 in 2018, and it was sold almost 2 years later to the date for $135,000 more than it was purchased for. This home buyer who resold this property made about $100,000 profit, and again, they didn't pay a dime of tax because they lived in the house while they were renovating it. Now, to break this down, breakdown. If you earn $100,000 through a job or through your business, you're gonna end up paying about $20,000, $25,000 to the government in taxes. What the government says is if you live in a house for at least 2 years before selling it, when you sell it, the profit you make is non-taxable. You don't have to pay $1 of tax to the government for the money you make, and you can do this over and over and over again. There's no limit to it. Now let's get back to it. In the 2 years of living there, they did a little bit more work on this property. They did laminate floors, they updated the kitchen counters and the bathrooms. Again, we see the difference professional photos make in how nice this home looks. The community they bought in has continuously improved over the last 3 years. It's right next to the Las Vegas Golf Club golf course. Siegfried and Roy own a mansion just a few houses down, and it's a few streets of ranch style homes, again in 89108 zip code, which has been massively improving with the house values. These ranch style homes are some of our favorite investments. This home sits on 29,000 square feet of land, just over a half acre, and with this backyard looking like a resort, the land is gonna only continue to get more and more expensive in Las Vegas. When we look at places like San Francisco, New York, LA, the land is gone and they have to build up. It's only a matter of time until the same thing happens here in Las Vegas. Now, instead of selling, I do wish they would have done one thing different. I wish they would have looked into doing a cash out refinance if they didn't have a down payment to purchase their second house. Now, all that means is they could have called the bank and said, hey, Mr. and Ms. Bank, my house is worth a lot more than what I owe on it. Can I pull some of that money out, purchase my second property? Now, the reason why I wish they would have looked into this is because they could have then kept the first home as a rental and they could have bought their second home. I can only imagine what 29,000 square feet of land in the middle of the city with a resort style home is gonna be worth in 5, 10, 20 years. All in all, I can't bag on these buyers who resold this property because they still made about $100,000 profit in 2 years. Not too bad. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope that this gave you guys a really good mental image of how normal people are using real estate to make money when it's done properly. As always, if you have any questions, that's what we're here for. Send us a DM, leave us a comment. We're here and we're happy to help.